So tell me more about kind of leaning into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I think so many people think if I let myself feel negative thoughts, then I'm gonna feel negatively forever. Or, we teach our kids this very early. Think happy thoughts, turn that frown upside down, right? The smiley face is the ultimate in praise. And in reality, it is true that if we actually can lean into the negative thoughts and lean into the negative feelings, we're going to cope better. Because there are a couple reasons for that. So the first part of leaning in is really about finding the tools to manage it. If you always run from sadness, or if you always push it down, or you never acknowledge it, then that denies you the opportunity to learn what helps you feel it and let it pass, right? If you learn to label it and talk about it, or reach out to a friend, or to acknowledge that you're sad, or acknowledge that you're going through a period of loss, then you're able to find meaning in that feeling and you're able to actually get new strategies. Okay, I know when I feel sad and lonely, I like to connect with this friend. Or maybe sometimes when I feel sad, I feel like I don't have, much interesting going on in my life. So I will do something creative, or, maybe this type of music helps put me in a better mood. You're actually learning the skills to be able to manage the feeling. Whereas when we don't lean into it, we tend to deny ourselves that opportunity, and we teach ourselves that those feelings are unacceptable, right? And so then when they do come, because we have had a loss, then what are we going to do? The only thing we know how to do at that point is to run from them, or to try to numb them, or escape from them. And I think we do this to our kids sometimes. We teach them that, the best way to feel is happy. And therefore, I think what we don't realize is that we're actually denying them the opportunity to get a toolbox of things to use when they are sad, because sadness will come, and sadness is just as valid a part of life as happiness. And I think it's hard for us to recognize that, but it's like when
Mhm.
I work with somebody who's gotten sober after substance abuse, for instance, I think the average person might assume that it's about, finding ways to be happy, 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 and find a happy life even without your substance of choice. And in reality, if you work with folks like this, they'll tell you that it's not about that. It's about actually leaning into feeling things more fully. And no, they're not
Mhm.
happy all the time, but they feel like they're living. And living means embracing the tough parts too, and being fully alive for them. The opposite of depression is not a big fat smiley emoji. The opposite of depression is showing up and embracing the bad stuff too, and leaning fully in, and having some of it be really tough, but feeling like you're in it and you're not going to turn away from it, and that you're fully alive, and that you're going to use the tools that you can use in order to get through it, but you're not going to try to numb yourself or detach yourself from it. And that's hard. I mean, I think we want to make our kids comfortable, we want to make ourselves comfortable. So a lot of times it's easier to say, "Oh, it's not appropriate for me to be feeling sad right now. I'm at work, let me just stuff it." But it does have a way of haunting us later on if we're constantly stuffing negative emotion. It really does have a way to haunt us.
I love this idea that the opposite of depression is being fully alive. And I can imagine the listener hearing that from you, Andrea, and thinking like, oh, what do they want me to be like? Have this like be this like roller coaster of like chaotic emotional expression. And I don't think that's what you're talking about. I think, and I'll let you jump in here and correct me, but like I mean, for me anyway, like the idea of like when I can fully feel all the feelings, I actually have more equanimity because I'm I'm feeling it and then I'm letting it pass, and I'm feeling it, but I don't have to react so much in some ways. Like I can feel all the sensations in the body, and yeah, and I have a good cry, and then there's a new moment. But tell me what your response to that idea is.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think people are afraid of letting themselves feel. And
Mhm.
and certainly with depression, I mean, not to minimize it all, there's a whole host of treatments that really need to be employed, potentially when somebody is depressed. And we should look at the whole picture that, there might be some medical concerns, there might be some nutritional concerns, there might be abusive relationships, there might be all kinds of things, there might be all kinds of tools that we need to treat it. But I think in general, People are really afraid of feeling their emotions, and people who feel lonely and detached and sort of aimless, a lot of times they're scared of letting themselves fully embrace emotions because they feel like, oh well, if I start to cry, I'll never stop. Or,
Mhm.
if I let myself be on this full ride of emotions, I'm going to be on a roller coaster, as you said. And the truth is that the more that we avoid the negative emotions, that's when they become so scary. That's when we become so ill equipped to manage them. And so it's not going to be a roller coaster
Mhm.
if we've actually had some practice letting ourselves label them. And so that really means, using those cliched I statements sometimes. I feel upset that you said that, or I am feeling low today and I'm not really sure why. And even the labeling, I mean, there's research that says that it's just so powerful to even just give voice to our emotion. Some people keep journals or they do something artistic with it or they reach out to a friend. Ironically, those techniques really help the emotion pass more quickly than if we're fighting it all the time and pretending that we don't have it.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Ianla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.